and spiritual teacher, and he's going to talk a little bit about how we honor our soul's purpose. Stephen?
Are we recording this? I don't need a mic.
Yeah, we're recording.
Okay, I do need a mic then. Okay.
Yeah.
Stephanie, thank you. Very inspiring, short, but right to the point. I liked it. Plus, the Blue Jays are looking for a new pitcher. They're telling me last night, the Canadians were telling me last night, oh my God, they got beat 14-2 or something like in the step up to the World Series. So if you're going to pray for the Blue Jays, okay? Yeah, I just want to talk to you for a few minutes about one of my favorite topics. It's spirituality, and it's really the backbone of what our lives are about. And I came up with, I like things in 3s and 4s, by the way, speakers, or those future speakers and those future authors. Oh, by the way, how many are aspiring authors? I'm just curious. I want to give you one piece of advice that a writing coach gave me when I was in the midst of my latest book, which is called Healing Ancestral Karma. I called Lisa up, Lisa McCourt, who has published a few books as well. And I said, I'm really stuck on this one part, Lisa. What do I do? You have any advice for me? And you know what she said? 2 words. Just right. Just right. Or like Buddha supposedly said at one time, don't just do something, sit there. Or the other aphorism that I heard that I love is the tyranny of the blank page. How many can relate to that? Anybody? The tyranny of the blank page. Anyway, I like things in 3s and 4s because I think when I've heard speakers, typically I can walk away if somebody says the 3 steps to success or the 4 steps to overcoming fear or something like that. That'll stay with me. But if somebody goes 21 steps towards whatever, you lost me. Unlike Jerry Maguire, you lost me at that one. So I want to give you some of my ideas. By the way, give me a heads up, because I could go on for a couple hours with this. Pam, where's Pam?
Right here.
Okay, Pam, could you just shout really loudly when there's 5 minutes left? Or go like this or something like that? Oh, okay, a sign. Okay, good. I like signs. The 4 steps could be summarized in a word, and as far as honoring your soul's purpose. You know, what is that about? What is your soul's purpose? How do you find it? That sort of thing. And the 4 steps are BALL, have a ball. And what that is breathe, assume responsibility. You have free will. You're making choices each and every moment. Even if you don't choose what is happening in the external world, you have a choice as to how to respond. I'll say a little more about that. 3rd one, here's the fun one, let go. I'm listening to a book by David Hawkins, who is the author of Power and Force, and his latest book is called, well, I don't know if it's his latest, but in the last couple of years it was published, called Letting Go. And he's got some really powerful tips, by the way, if that's of interest to you. Look it up, Letting Go, The Art of Surrender. And I'll tell you, I got to tell you, surrender is the big word these days. It's not just a word, it's about how to operate in life that not only eases your stress, but actually can help you move to that place of peace. To really be at peace with yourself and with the world around you, especially with all the events that are going on and the changes in the world, the planet, as well as the changes in human consciousness. So breathe, assume responsibility, let go, and number 4, my favorite one, listen. Listen with all of you to the guidance that's available. Each and every one of us, it's like we have our own internal GPS, and we just got to learn how to use it. And just like GPSs, they get, you know, the signals get crossed sometimes, or there's interference with listening. So breathe. A couple of really fun and I think really interesting breathing meditations that only take a few minutes. I want to give you a couple of these, and you can work with them. We're not going to do a lot of this today because of the brevity of time, and you've got some other excellent speakers coming up as well. Breathe. Breath. We tend to be I'm going to generalize here, but we tend to be a culture of rather shallow breathers. Wouldn't you agree? You know, we just, we don't tend to pay attention to our breath. I am particularly an advocate, and also I have to remind myself, you know, at times to breathe. So I want to give you a really simple one that was given to me during a meditation. And that is, when you breathe in, I want you to try this while I'm describing this, okay? When you breathe in, think the word, or if you're by yourself, you can even say it, but when you breathe in, say the word, yes. And when you breathe out, the words, thank you. Yes. Thank you. What's that really saying? It's saying yes to whatever the experience is. No matter if you want to, like at a buffet or something like that, you go down the line and you go, I want this food, oh, I don't want this one. Instead, say yes to it, even if you don't partake. Yes. Thank you. Masura Imoto. How many have heard of him? He is an interesting guy. I met him years ago. He did a lot of work with studying how our energy, our vibes, and especially words can affect the molecular structure of water. It's been challenged quite a bit as not scientific. It doesn't matter. Sometimes there's science and there's a reality here that we deal with day to day, that physical reality we deal with, and then there's the soul's reality. And I got to tell you something. That's the soul's reality is just as real as this one. We touch that through stories, through experiences, through metaphors, through connections, through meditation, through a number of means. We touch that soul's reality. And we need that right now, more than ever. More than ever. I don't care what your spiritual discipline is, but have one. Start out your day that way. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I just want, it's all the voice of consciousness or the one. It doesn't matter. The consciousness, this is the illusion that we labor under here. And we've been handed this in our culture. And I'm generalizing vastly, I realize, but this illusion of separation. The rugged individual. You ever heard that term? Really popular in America. It has been. I think it's changing. But what about, let's put our hearts and minds together on this and realize that we're not separate, that we're all a part of this matrix of consciousness, capital C. And it's not just us human beings. We're part of this matrix of consciousness that expresses in so many different ways. Go and sit by a tree, put your backbone against a tree, and breathe. Okay. Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Another one, and you can try this if you'd like. Place your hand over your heart, just so you got a physical sensation there. And again, on your own, you can do this or you can do this now, either way. And breathe through your heart. We come in with the breath, we leave with the breath. Dr. Emoto, his last word when he exhaled that last breath was arigato. Thank you. Well, isn't that cool? Man, when I go out, it's like somebody said, when I die, I want to die in my sleep like my grandfather, and not like the 4 passengers in his car screaming in terror. So I want to die in my sleep. No, I want to be awake. Steve Jobs, supposedly his sister was with him when he died, and his words were 3 words. Wow. 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 On his transit to, depending on your belief system, wherever souls go. So breathe. that, I think, gets us square centered into the present as much as we can focus on the breathing. And there's other breathing techniques, etc., like that. Those are two real simple ones, though, that I invite you to try out and see what works for you with this. Assume responsibility. Breathe, assume responsibility. That's a big one these days. There's situations that have been happening in my family that remind me of this, of taking responsibility, not blaming. What's really interesting is, especially in larger cities like Los Angeles, the number of advertisements, the number of advertisements for attorneys that will fight for you, but you've got to be a victim first. And victimhood or victim thinking and putting oneself in that circumstance or that way of thinking of oneself as a victim, first off, you got to find somebody to blame or something to blame, right? And what I'm out to is to flip that over to say, no, you have choice. You have choice how to respond. It doesn't mean people get hurt. Not naive. People get hurt, but how long can we stay in that place of feeling victimized? How do we move out of that? Assuming responsibility for our choices. Like I said, we may not be able to control circumstance. In fact, we can't control anything. It gets down to it. That's the cosmic joke. But we can't necessarily do anything about the circumstances. What was it last? We had this radio show planned, and it was one thing after another that just interfered. Speaking about, it's like God said to me, all right, you want to talk about this stuff? We're going to give you a few tests here. It was just one thing after the other. It's not important what the story is, but one thing after the other, and we were laughing about it ultimately, and just surrender, surrender, surrender. Things got obstructed. There was a storm in Denver. The guy couldn't get his cell phone charged. It was just a comedy of errors, It got to be, Elvis Costello said it a while ago in a song. He said, I used to get disgusted, now I just get amused. Yeah, so, might as well laugh about this stuff. So, let go. That's a big one. We could spend a couple hours talking about letting go. Again, I'll refer you to David Hawkins' book, because it's a good one about letting go. This is what's up for us, gang. Is letting go and surrendering. Can I accept what is and deal with it accordingly and make my choices accordingly with my free will? I listen to the voice of spirit, whether it's with my eyes, my ears, my body. And can I respond to that voice? And I mean voice loosely. It may come as images. I'll get to that in a sec. But listening. Letting go. One of the things that in spiritual practices, etc., is sort of this, I would call it sometimes a spiritual bypass. That I'm feeling something. Somebody hurt me, and I immediately jump to this, I forgive them. But I haven't done the work, which is to, first off, you're feeling pissed off, be pissed off until you're not feeling pissed off anymore. You're feeling hurt, you're feeling angry, you're feeling sad. Let yourself feel it. You don't have to dwell in it. But one thing you can do is like peel away the layers. Let's say if you get angry at somebody, go ahead and be angry. Take a few breaths. And then see what else is there. I did this process last night with the situation. It was very interesting. It came down to sadness and grief. And can I release this by being in it? You got to have something before you can let it go. And by moving through that, we come to listen, which in the broadest sense is not just listening with the ears. There's 4 ways that you can get spiritual guidance, to understand and to know that GPS. How much time? We on 5? 7, good. That when you listen, I use that term listen in a broader sense, as I mentioned, and that is that you listen with all of you, these 4 modalities of spiritual perception. With our eyes, what we see out here, sometimes the messages come from this seeming external world. Sometimes we close our eyes, we get an image on the back of our eyelids. That's another way to listen with our eyes, listen with our ears, certainly, and that's that inner voice. Sometimes it's that important stranger. You ever pass somebody by and they're talking about something and you go, whoa, that was for me. Anybody? You went, whoa, it tweaks you. You have to pay attention to that important stranger. So it may come from out here. The third modality I like to call kinesthetic. Kinesthetic just involves the body. It's sensations. Do you ever get like prickles on your skin and you know you're not sick? You know, and you're having spiritual input at that time. Just a sensation that's going on in your body. And again, if you're removed from your body, if you're dissociated from your body, it's hard to feel that, but that's the third way. Fourth way is, we could say, cognitive. What that means is just that knowing. People who receive messages from Spirit that way typically will say, I don't know how I know, I just know. So we're going to do a little quick survey here. You could have, what I found is that usually we're pretty good at one or two of them. In other words, we tend to rely on those. Mine is, I tend to rely on my hearing. I'm a wordsmith, just like many of you. I work with words a lot, so my hearing makes sense that I would get my input by that inner voice. Kinesthetic, I feel things, I sense things. So the other two, we're pretty good at a couple of them usually. The other two take development. Start paying attention. The years I've been doing this, more and more visual has come in. But I remember 20 years ago or something, you know, and I was in a workshop of some sort, training or something, and the teacher would say, well, what did you guys get? And somebody would describe these fantastic visions. And I'm sitting there going, I feel like the only guy at the revival meeting that didn't get it. You know, that one. But anyway, so over the years, though, it's developed. So now I do see apparitions, you could say. Sometimes I, like, what's his name? I forget the little actor, but I see dead people. You know, ancestors. That's another, it's a whole other topic. So let me ask you guys, how many, and you can have more than one, certainly, but I would like to see a show of hands. How many think that you're more visual? That's one of your primaries. Look around, too. Okay, probably about maybe a third of the group. How many think their auditory is one of their strengths? Again, another maybe third, just under. How many kinesthetic? You sense things. And that's often the most number of people that say kinesthetic. Cognitive. You get that input that way. Okay, great. So I want you to rely on those methods of receiving spiritual input. I want to read a quote by a dear friend of mine, Jacob Nordby, who's an author. The soul of us is never confused about why it is here. It only asks us to wake up and see the breadcrumb clues it has been leaving all along. It asks us to have courage to face the wounds we have been healing, the wounds we have been hiding, allow it to heal them and untangle the heavy, snarled patterns. Because the soul of us has no doubt whatever that it can, and if we allow it to express fully, can live a life of such power and joy through us that our human selves will be astonished. Isn't that beautiful? And that's what I encourage all of us, is to be willing to be astonished, be willing to jump into this life, to breathe through it, let go of the stuff, you know, don't deny it. Be in it and then let it go. Be in it, experience it, and let it go. Experience it and let it go. So, have a ball. I like that. Aren't I clever? Don't you think? That's pretty clever. That just came to me this morning sitting over there. I tweaked a couple of things with it. Anyway, have a breathe, assume responsibility, big one. You know, if you find yourself blaming somebody, just get off it. Say, okay, what was my choice, or what is my choice here? Whatever it may be. Certainly letting go, sometimes a challenging one, but we can all learn how to do that. I'm getting pretty good at it, you know, without, I guess I'm bragging a little bit just because I practice it so much and I teach what we need to learn kind of thing. Is to really let go of those things, not to deny them. I'm a human being. In fact, I'm a spiritual being. Remember that saying that was going around after, as Deepak may have said it or something, we're not spiritual beings we're not human beings trying to be spiritual, we're spiritual. Baloney. Baloney. That's not right. You're spirit in expression. Another way to say it's your consciousness in expression. I had people do this sometimes. I go, I am consciousness expressing as Stephen. Stephanie, you are consciousness expressing as Stephanie. That tree is consciousness expressing as tree. That animal that came up and, that crow that came up and sat right in front of me and looked right at me is consciousness expressing as that crow. Probably has a message for me too. That's one of the fun ways. I got to tell you something funny. I was telling this to a group, and then I did a book signing, and I think it was the fourth person came up and said, you know, what's your name? And she goes, I am consciousness expressing as Stacy. So I wrote that. Dear consciousness expressing as Stacy. But it's, you know, it implies something by making that sort of statement and owning it. It implies that connection. One more minute. That implies that connection with all of consciousness. That we can experience those moments, right? You all have. Everybody in here has. So it's just those moments of no thought. Just that feeling, because you stop thinking and something else happens. Something else takes over. So, and I want to say one piece about animal spirit guides, and they're going to take the hook and pull me off the stage here. You know, that's a few of my books are related to that, and also oracle cards about animal spirit guides. And I'll give you just the quick 25-word or less way to identify whether an animal is actually a spirit guide or just, you know, there's a bunch of crows out there. We have a lot of those in the neighborhood. When an animal shows up in an unusual way and or repeatedly, that's an animal spirit guide. That's a messenger from God. When you have that experience, such as the crow that lands right in front of you and looks at you, you're walking through the woods, the fox comes by right in front of you. A lady told me just the other day, she said she lives out in, I was on the East Coast, she has 4.5 acres. She said, the other day a wolf came up and I turned around about 6 feet away. He wasn't aggressive or intimidating, he just was looking at me. That's unusual. I had a hawk fly into my office one time while I was writing. Well, actually, I was procrastinating. And when I saw that, I had to ask myself, well, what's the message? And one way you can get the message, I'll just give you one tip, is to think about the characteristics of the animal. Native Americans talk about the medicine of the animal. There's incredible power as you start to tune into the natural world. And that's something that we've lost and have forgotten. It's also we've lost our connection with our ancestors. And who knows, that crow might be an ancestor. Anyway, thank you all. Enjoy the rest of the day.
I have something for you, and I have something for you for the audience. Stephen, thank you so much. That was so lovely.
Great, thanks.
Wait, not done yet.
Not done. Uh-huh. Do I get to throw things?
Yes, you do.
Okay, I was hoping so. Stephanie, you want to help? No.
Yeah, it's all yours.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you so much.
So now you
Do I
can
get to
throw
throw
that
it?
out, and you can award them with
Oh, this is
this copy of
choice
Published
here.
Magazine.
Edna.
Come on up.
Come on up, Edna.
Come on up.
You got to come up.
There you go. That's for her.
I have these plastered all over my office.
Excellent interview.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And thank you so much.
Oh, you got it.
Stephen, again.
Okay.